Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate RoundUp Podcast. I am super excited for today's episode because we are going to be highlighting one of our hosts, Tony Flores, and his experience in flipping real estate, being a real estate investor, and also being a licensed real estate agent as well. But I'm super excited for today's episode. So if you guys are interested in learning more about becoming a real estate investor, flipping homes, if you're a real estate agent who is looking into becoming an investor yourself, then we're going to be able to provide a ton of value in today's episode as well. But my name is Kobe Zinn, and I am joined here as always, like I said, by my hosts and co-hosts, Tony Flores and Andres Martinez. So before we get into anything, how are you guys doing on this fine day today?
Awesome. How are you guys doing?
Great. Myself, I'm excited about this episode, ready to pick Tony's brain today.
Yeah, I know we get to do a lot of that kind of behind the scenes, so it's interesting to be able to share that with our audience today as well. So let's catch up just a little bit here with you, Andres, before we dig in and anything. I know you have a pretty eventful day today. You had, I believe, a class that you actually took for your real estate business. So kind of tell us a little bit about what that was about and how that was able to kind of add to your repertoire of skills as well.
So I did a class today on unconscious bias and just try to understand people's different perspective and just try not to prejudge anybody. We never know when somebody walks in, especially dealing with the client, what they could possibly qualify. Don't prejudge anybody. Make sure that you gather the information, give everyone a fair shot so you could better service them, and then kind of guide them and go over the process with them as thorough as possible without kind of missing a step because you jump to a conclusion.
That's pretty interesting. So, yeah, again, one of the more important things as an agent or somebody working in real estate is understanding the minds of people that you're working with. And I think that's a really interesting class, Andres. And glad you were able to go to that today and get some value from it. But let's dig right on into today's topic here. So, Tony, what I want to kind of really start out with is, if you don't mind, sharing a little bit about your background, not necessarily on the agent side of the business, but on the investment side of the business. Just a little bit about how you got started and what does your real estate investing business look like to this day.
Okay. Yeah. So happy to share some of my experiences, kind of how I started in doing some fix and flips in the San Antonio and surrounding markets. My an interest in real estate kind of really started probably in my 20s, but I didn't really have resources or the right mentors to really act on them. So it just kind of was something in just way off in the back burner. But I started getting just interested in real estate again a few years ago in 2016, 2017. I think 2017 is when I really started digging in and just learning more. I would go to some seminars in the local area. I would talk to different people and just found, just kind of got reignited, really excited again about real estate and just trying to do things, always. One of the things that I learned, when I was really young was like always make a place better than the way you found it. And that's kind of like what I like to do with properties. And it's just kind of it's definitely an interest. It's in some cases it's methodical. In other cases, it's a little bit more artistic. So I just started attending local real estate investment associations and kind of getting to know the people, kind of getting to know the different mentors, and really just trying to expose myself some more and just find out more about the whole business in general.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So I didn't even know you were interested in real estate all the way. Back when you first started your your career, your life, if you will, back in your early 20s.
Yeah.
So this is something that really kind of stuck with you as you began to accumulate more success in other parts of your life, and really this past, I guess, couple of years, you were able to kind of jump in and start doing fix and flips.
Right.
So yeah, so that's pretty interesting. So that's how you
So
got started.
yeah, so really, you know, back years and years ago, we didn't really have the internet, right? So what we had was we had infomercials, right? So I would watch some infomercials, and there would be different people come to the San Antonio area, or I'd say, we're going to do a seminar, real estate. So I'm not sure if anyone remembers Carlton Sheets, but he was one of the guys that did seminars here. And I think Robin Gibbons was another one that I remember attending. And just, I was interested in what they had to sell. So I bought the tapes, had audio tapes and different things like that. But the problem with those things was, of course, now information is so readily available, and back then you had to go to the courthouse. Of course, I was fully employed at that time, and then there was no continuing mentorship or no RIAs like that I was aware of in the area at that time. So I just kind of I got the information, and I was just kind of got stuck. But now fast forward, there's a lot more information, a lot more ways to get a hold of people, and now it's just I definitely decided just to go all the way through, fulfill it all the way through.
Hey, you've done great so far, right? You're always flipping houses, and Andres, I know you were even with Tony locally for a couple flips, right? Just to kind of get a firsthand experience, kind of on some walkthroughs. Am I correct on that?
So yes, I actually went out to one of his condominiums a while back, and I always like to pick Tony's brain. The reason being is as we begin to be like middle-aged men, we're always thinking about what's next. How can we invest? How can we prepare ourselves for
Right.
retirement? So I have a lot of friends, and they watch HGTV. And they think it's going to happen in 90 days and you're going to make this large amount of money. And honestly, they probably don't even know how to get off the ground or even off square one. So I always refer to Tony, and I'm like, hey, it's not that easy. You got to be knowledgeable because you got to know where you're going to put your money into so you can make sure you can profit. So yes, I always refer to Tony when it comes to anything with flipping.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up because it's not that easy, right? A lot of people get into real estate because they've watched a ton of HGTV. We've heard the stories. I'm sure you guys have heard the stories as well. But this is a good point for us to kind of dig deeper into the process with you, Tony, as far as what does it look like to actually get a house under contract and start flipping it. So just first and foremost, people are having the question of where do you get started, right? So there's really two different places to people want to start with, and that's actually finding houses to buy, so finding sellers, and then actually getting financing or getting loans to actually buy the house. So out of these between the two, right, where would you suggest somebody who is a little bit newer, maybe they have the resources, they want to start, which one should they start with, raising money or finding deals?
So everyone's going to think it's raising money, or they get stuck because they say, well, I can't flip a house because I have no money. And what I say is, if you can find a house that needs work, and if you can find a way to get to that house, get it under contract in a price point that's going to work for everybody, then the money will find you, because there are they're what called hard money lenders, which if they will look at your deal and they won't buy it, that means it's really not a deal. And the other part, because that's the way people buy houses that need work. A house that needs to be flipped won't qualify for a conventional loan. It won't qualify for an FHA loan, or if it is an FHA, there will be conditions with a 203K loan, and that's just there's some contractors you have to use. There's some barriers in place, and it can be done, but for the most part, the way people buy houses that need to be fixed and flipped are primarily hard money lenders or private money lenders. Private money lenders and hard money lenders both want to see a track record of some that you've produced, and you've been able, or you're partnering with somebody that has been able to successfully complete something. They don't want to just put out their money without without having some reassurance. So they're going to offer usually a percentage of the purchase price, and they'll do draws on the rehab. So typically, and it's just and really private lenders are really there's a lot of things that have variables. The hard money lenders can do things different ways. They can charge you interest on all the money that you're borrowing for the whole entire project, or they can possibly charge you money only on the money that you're drawing at the time that you're the length of time that you're drawing that money. So if your whole budget is going to be, let's just say it's $150,000 for the purchase and for the rehab, some of them will charge you all $150,000 starting from the origination of the loan, and others will charge you, okay, we're gonna charge you the interest on the purchase price as the time that you draw it, and then the rehab. So typically what you're doing is you're paying for some rehab and you're getting reimbursed. You're paying in to get jobs done and then get reimbursed. Those are what's called draws. And the lenders will, there's a lot of things that are negotiable, and some of it's negotiable based on your experience. The last rehab, and in this case, last rehab I had, I actually didn't have to pay the lender any money at any point until the house sold on the open market, and that's really that's unusual. Okay, that is definitely not typical, and it's not usual. But the fact that I've worked with this lender multiple times and shown a track record of proving that I can do what needs to get done and sell it and have it profitable for myself and have it profitable for my lender. It's just shown a track record where we've gotten to that point where she hasn't had any expectation of interest payments or anything like that. So typically when you're borrowing and you're paying interest only payments. So interest only on the monthly is the very typical. Some lenders charge origination points. Some lenders charge also, yeah. So you have to look at all the numbers, and really at the end of the day, hard money and borrowing money, it can be expensive if you're taking longer on the project. So what you want to make sure is you're creating a scope of work, and you're showing it to them what your scope of work is going to be, and then just kind of chipping away at it and getting things done as well.
So that's that's a really good breakdown of what actually goes into the raising money side of things, right? So if you have a deal, you can bring it to these potential lenders, right? Hard money lenders or private money lenders, and a lot of people, I guess, they don't understand what that what that looks like from the raising money side. They think that you're just going to get a loan from a bank, and then they're going to start paying off the property that way. So everything that you mentioned is it's a negotiable term, right? There are certain terms you can negotiate with private money lenders. I'm sure private money lenders are going to be more flexible than hard money lenders who, hard money lenders do this for like a business, right? They keep running through this over and over again. But yeah, so before we move on into kind of talking more about the acquiring deal side, Andres, did you have any questions over the financing side or the money raising side so far?
No, I did not.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a pretty good breakdown then of what it looks like to get the actual financing on a property. So let's talk about now like the actual kind of going back a little bit, the first step, right, of what goes into getting a flip started. So how are you actually going out there and finding these properties to bring to potential lenders, right? What are you doing to start acquiring properties, and how are you prospecting, I guess, sellers to start this process?
Yeah. So the way I look for properties that need attention, need work, or there's different ways to do it. I've sent letters. I've mailed. Yeah. So I've mailed letters is typically the main thing that I've done. I've also know other investors who might not be ready to take on a project. So they'll say, hey, I have somebody I've already spoken to. I've already kind of pre-negotiated this deal. Would you want to either partner with me on it, or would you like to kind of step into my shoes and be the purchaser instead of me purchasing it because I'm not ready to take on this deal, or it might be out of my area. Like in certain case, Houston person was marketing in this area, but he wanted to partner with me on it, but there's so much limited things that he could do. It was a bigger project, and I just said, well, let me just be the buyer, and then I can just offer you a kind of a finder's fee for that, and that's the way we've done it on those deals. So I've done them both ways on that marketing. There's so many people that I get calls from, or I'll get a text message. I don't do that type of marketing. I know other people do, and I know they've been pretty successful in some cases. In other cases, just there's different ways. So typically, what we're looking for is we're looking for houses that have potential for a seller that's ready to just wash their hands of the property. This could be a foreclosure situation where they have to make a decision. They either have to pay up or they have to move out. And it could be an inherited property, somebody that has inherited a property and already has a home to live in, and they know that the house can't go on a typical purchaser can't come in and buy and get typical financing with it, so they have to do it as a cash sale. And then there's other things, so we also do what's called driving for dollars. We go out and we can, and this doesn't necessarily need to be specific scheduled stuff. It could be just like, hey, we're going to a friend's house and we notice as we're driving there's something that's unusual for that neighborhood. Maybe it's boarded up windows, maybe it's overgrown lawn, different indicators like that. There's lots of ways to show physical indicators of either deterioration or neglect. And neglect, deferred maintenance essentially is maintenance that has not been completed. Could be a roof that has anywhere from a lot of loss of the roofing materials, or it could be a hole in the roof. So those are physical things that you can see. There's other things that you can are other indicators, which are possibly financial indicators. Could be someone's behind on taxes. Again, someone could be behind on their payments, which is just foreclosure. There's substituted trustee, and again, just different things that happen, and life events that happen for people that show that with people that have a lot of those indicators kind of coming together, that's what shows typically who has the potential to they're kind of coming to possibly a crossroads, and you're wanting to meet them when they're coming to that crossroads and they're having to make a decision of what they're going to do with that property. They want to sell it on the market and just kind of let people vie for it on the market. Then we can help them as a realtor, but as an investor, if I'm looking at that property and I can make an offer that they don't have to have people coming and going and just they're just happy with the numbers, then we can make it happen fairly quickly. And I have different resources and different ways to pay for it that other people won't necessarily have.
So as you're approaching, people who are as you're driving for dollars, right? You notice some of these, I guess, physical issues or maybe even financial issues. I guess those wouldn't be from driving for dollars. Those would be more from, research that's done. What are you doing to approach? Are you just door knocking these properties, or trying to find the owners, even if they're absentee?
Yeah. So a lot of these properties are vacant, or the owners are hard to find. So I've door knocked foreclosures. I've door knocked vacant properties. Sometimes I'll possibly go to take a look, see if the neighbors are outside, and I might ask them a couple of questions if they know, who the family members might be or who the owners would be, so I could try to get in contact with them. So there's different ways to reach out to them. Of course, right now there's a lot of different services. There's public records, there's other services that allow you to essentially, find out more information that you would, kind of like I was saying, 20 years ago or so. the information was, you had to be pretty much hire a detective to find people. Now you can find things on the internet. So certainly makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty good. Andres, did you have a question on the?
Yes, once you identify a property, um, to make to like move forward with the property and know that that's the property that works out, is there a specific formula you use when it comes to moving forward and then communicating with a potential client that you'll be service or buying the property from?
Yeah, most investors go with what they call the 70% rule, which is 70% of the fully completed and renovated rehab value. So it's a after repair value that's fully marked, fully completed, ready to list. Okay, so it's 70% of that value minus the repairs that are needed to get it to that condition, that end state. And there's a lot of different reasons why it's 70%, because really there's time that it takes to repair the house, right? So we talked about lenders and they, of course, they charge interest. So typically 10%, 10 to 12% could be the budget for that just the cost of borrowing the money, right? Typically to list it and get it sold, the utilities and that kind of stuff. So typically that is going to be in the 10% range as well. So we're talking about right there is 20%, and then what it remains is 10%. So 10% is really kind of what is the kind of target as far as what the actual profit is after everyone gets paid, after the utilities get paid, after the lender gets paid, and all the of course all the contractors and all those people, the materials, all those things. And if you've done repairs at your home, you know that things add up pretty quickly. You could have an AC guy come out and you're not sure how much it's going to be. You get surprised at what it's going to be when they come to fix your AC. You get a plumber to do some plumbing. Hey, can you fix this for me? Well, what does that cost? Well, just when you're rehabbing things, of course, when the plumber comes for one thing, typically they might find something else. So those costs add up just the same way they add up at your own home, your own personal home. The repairs that you've done for yourself is the same way that those kinds of repairs can really add up when you're doing rehabs as well. So it's really important to be very good about your numbers. If you've never done a rehab, the best thing that I ever did for myself is just knowing, just pairing myself with great mentors, and also doing my rehabs. I started with a mentor that helped me work out those numbers, and also provided me with great people that they've worked with in the past that have done that same work. So I know that I'm not going to, kind of have to go pay someone to do the job and then have to redo it with somebody else, pay twice for something. So I've also helped people with their first rehabs. What we did was we did what's called a joint venture partnership, where they found the right deal. They wanted to purchase it and they wanted to do the rehab, but they didn't have the money to buy it, and they didn't have the knowledge or the background in the previous history of doing rehab. So they kind of got stuck. So what I did was I did a joint venture partnership with them. We were able to come up with a fair agreement where they came out with money and knowledge on how to do rehabs, and I helped them, essentially worked with them on the rehab and brought in my private lenders and the crews that I've worked with in the past to get some of that rehab done as well. And they were extremely happy with the results. At the end of the day, they got profits that they wanted to see on it. They got it sold in a short period of time, and the rehab itself, they were very happy with the way it turned out, because being in the market and knowing what buyers knowing what buyers are looking for and what stands out and how you can make your house shine. That's kind of one thing that I like to do. And So they were happy with the result of the final product as well.
Being an inexperienced investor, what are some of the small things that could become big things that most first-time investors might overlook?
So there's five critical heavy lifting items on a rehab that could cause a huge impact on your rehab budget. So the five critical things are going to be the foundation, right? Where it could be a slab foundation, could be pier and beam. Here in this area, we don't have basement, but it could be slab, concrete slab, or pier and beam. It's roof also. What's the condition of roof? So these things have to be checked, right? You've got electrical, which is really big. You've got plumbing, and you got your HVAC. So all of those five items really are the highest and most critical things to be vetted and looked at. And if they need to be addressed, you really need to know up front. So those are the things that could be. Most everything else can be resolved, but those things need to be super looked at really well. And if you've been through it before, like typically when I walk a house, I don't necessarily need a foundation person to tell me that the foundation is off. Typically, I can I have a good idea, a good sense of it. It's always great to double check on things, but I've noticed foundation issues, just by walking a property, and it's almost like you feel like you're going downhill, or you're here on a boat that not necessarily level. So yeah, some of those things got to take a look at those things really carefully.
Yeah. So so when you're estimating repairs, right? And I think this is a kind of a good topic to go on now. It's you're estimating these repairs. Are you just getting that from your experience, right? Obviously, you have the mentors in the beginning to kind of help you out. But what are the numbers you're running? Are you running them? Are you running them before you actually try to make a deal on the property, or is this something that you're running afterwards that you have an option in the contract? So I guess what I'm trying to get at is a lot of people have trouble because this is something that I think getting deals, financing, a lot of this information people have heard of somewhere on the internet, but the estimating repairs part has always been kind of something that people if they don't get that right, that could be a huge problem.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. When people are trying to, there are people out there that just all they do is market for houses and then try to get somebody else to buy the house, for them, and just say, hey, we've got to deal with this. Do you want to buy this? And so they give kind of an option to buy that house. They might run some numbers, but I typically don't look well. I hear their numbers, but I don't necessarily trust them. So it's always, you really have to verify the numbers yourself. You always want to physically walk them. So yeah, the numbers to rehab a house will be market specific for the individuals. If I were to give you numbers in this area, it would be different from an area, say for instance, in California or New York or Florida. So yes, I use it. I use the numbers based on my previous experience and the people that I've worked with. I work with a lot of great vendors that have reasonable prices. So I want to certainly pay them fairly, but I don't necessarily want to pay them the top of the market. So what they get from me is they get some more consistent. They get a consistent customer that will keep coming back to them with a fair price for them, and they not necessarily top of market, because I'm not going to necessarily pay top of market for carpet, top of market for roof, and top of market for something else. But I will go with my trusted vendors. For instance, the last roof, I had quotes. The last roof I did, I had quotes from anywhere from $17,000 to $14,000 to the vendor that I've used in the past. So someone that I knew said, hey, this person can get you a real good price on the roofing material. So they're, try them out. Well, I ended up using the same roofer that I've used in the past, and he had the most reasonable. It was within a couple $100. It was actually a little bit more, but it was somebody that I had used in the past, and I trusted them. It wasn't it was a couple $100 more than the lowest bid I got, but it was still somebody that I trusted. So I essentially gave him the work instead of the person who was getting introduced, one of the people that was getting introduced to me. So yeah, your budget kind of is based on your local area and also the right vendors that if you've vetted them before. And if you haven't, just pair yourself up with somebody that's done it, and you see who they've used and who they've trusted. Just look at their work. Somebody that was good 2 years ago or a year ago might not necessarily be have the same quality this year. So something else might be going on. So it's always good, still have to hold people accountable. And but essentially, well, I have a lot of good people that I've worked with in the past. So typically we'll go with them.
And when we're talking about these properties, like you stated earlier, you're talking about distressed properties or foreclosures, or someone inherited a property and they necessarily might not want to move forward with it. Can you just tell us the difference? Because a lot of people have the misconception that they could buy a property at market value and then do a lot of upgrades, and then they think they're going to profit. And I don't think they understand that the market value, and you do those repairs, or you upgrade it, you don't get dollar for dollar back. And you could possibly lose money by not identifying the correct property.
Doing the right repairs and updates to your property need to be consistent with the neighborhood around you, right? So if for instance, you want to upgrade your countertops to granite or to quartz, well, if you look at the comparables, what we call the comps, do most of them have the granite? Or if they don't, is Formica okay in that particular neighborhood? Maybe it is. Maybe you want to still have an upgrade and an updated look, and you want to kind of set the standard, and that's possible also. But know that it doesn't necessarily, it's going to translate the money you get. You're not necessarily going to get dollar for dollar. If you're going to be in that house also, it's great if you want to just upgrade it and just feel good about that. But it doesn't necessarily mean doesn't necessarily translate into getting paid back dollar for dollar what you put into it. Typically, the best money you're going to spend is going to be in your kitchens and your bathrooms. So you want to definitely people definitely take notice of that, because that, a lot of people like to spend time congregate in the kitchen, entertain the kitchen area, kitchen environment. So you want to make sure, those look nice, and people want to feel good in their bathrooms as well. So the primary bathrooms are super important. And then, I typically like to have a lot of the fixtures, the same consistent, colors from room to room to room. Typically, they'll be the same fans when I'm doing updates. So, but it does need to be consistent for the neighborhood. So you're not spending more money than you have to, because at the end of the day, if you're there just to fix it and flip it and provide it to the next owner, you do want it to stand out. And also, keep in mind, you really just need to pay good attention to the comparables and what can you do to match it and possibly do an upgrade without necessarily going like overboard. That's the main thing.
Yeah, and that's that's something that I think a lot of people make the mistakes on, right? Andres, you brought up the fact that people will purchase properties at market value and I think they're going to profit off of it. So that's something that I'm sure people have seen maybe similar things being done in TV shows that are out there. But no, I think this is really good, Tony. And I think for us to just really wrap up here, because you are on both sides, right? You're a real estate agent and you're a real estate investor. You're really doing both, like at the same time, like in live time. You are doing both sides of the business. what are some advantages that you've seen, being a licensed agent now, where it's applicable to you either finding more sellers to buy properties from, or being able to potentially raise more money from more private lenders, maybe former clients of yours? How has that benefited you, just getting your license? Or if you're an agent out there, right, you want to start investing, how can you leverage that to actually start this process a little bit easier?
Okay, so I I started out as an investor first, and I decided to get licensed because I thought it would just help open up a few more opportunities for myself, being able to pull my own comps, have a better industry insight into what's happening in the market, how many days on market. Like I don't need to be, I, in the past I would ask one realtor and I would have kind of like a round robin. I would ask one realtor and then I would ask another realtor and I would ask another one. I didn't want to continue to ask the same person because I felt like I was, you know, extracting so much information and, I didn't want to, waste their time, but I also wanted to know as much as I could. So I was able to kind of like peel that back and just say, okay, let me just get licensed because the more I'm asking, the more I want to know. Is like I just need to get that, and it's helped me as well because, of course, now that I'm able to sell the houses that I flipped, or houses or condominiums, whatever the case is, I'm able to earn income on that sale as well, and have a better insight on that kind of background information as well. So that's kind of like going from investor. So like on the retail side, how that helps me, how my flips help me with the buyers. Like I know if I see a flip, I have a really good idea of, was this done well? Were there steps skipped on this? Does it make sense what they tried to do here, or is it discombobulated? Did they just piecemeal it together? They used some fixtures from here, they used some fixtures from there, and then they just kind of, if they do skipped a lot of steps in, you can see they're skipping steps in some places that are obvious. Then what are the things that you can't see? So that's kind of one of the things that I try to one of the ways I'm able to help people that are actually looking at houses that have been flipped, because I've done that side as well. So I know what a good flip might look like. So I can help the buyer select a better product, and I can and then when I'm flipping a house, I know what the buyers are going to be looking for as well, like what stands out to them. I'm visiting a lot of new home communities. How can I get this? How can I get this older home to look more like a newer home? Newer home, right? We might have other features that a newer home doesn't have. We have mature trees, or we have a larger lot, or different things like that. But we don't have the new home features, or could we? What can be added that would be similar to a new home, so people can kind of get the best of both worlds. And that's what I try to do with my flips.
So that's actually pretty interesting. That's you were able to, I really got out of that was, you can recognize, right? If you're representing buyers, you can recognize a flip, and you can see what they've done, right? If they've cut corners, is it actually valuable, the renovations they made, and all of that. So I think that's actually a really key thing that I haven't really heard anybody talk about before, right? Who's doing both sides of the business. But yeah, this was awesome, man. And before we wrap up, Andres, did you have any questions for Tony, or anything else you would like to add?
Just the only thing I would like to add is I was actually very excited about this topic. I was pushing it. I wanted to showcase Tony because he does bring a lot of value, even for like new real estate agents, or real estate agents that have probably been in the business for 20 years, and now they want to partner up with Tony and kind of shadow him and use him as a mentor, right? They could benefit a lot from Tony's knowledge. I always pick Tony's brain. He is very upfront with information. He's honest. So I really wanted this episode to focus on Tony. because I think he brings a great value, and he could bring benefit. Even realtors, Tony might have a house that he just finished, and he might need an open house. He afforded me that opportunity a couple of times. So there's great things that you can do if you partner up with Tony.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, if anyone wants to find out more about or learn more about flipping houses, or found some ideas off me, or just talk about different things on how I've been able to do both sides of it, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to be able to help you. We can certainly connect. I'm available if you want to talk, and we can certainly set up a meeting, or just just text back and forth, whatever works for you. Just like Andres here, he's one of my partners here with EXP, and love working with him, love his energy, and just being able to help answer questions for him and help him with his next step, his next journey as well.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. This was an awesome episode. I learned a lot myself as well, and appreciate you guys tuning into the Real Estate Roundup, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.